Well, hello, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, and I hope you love our new look. You see, we've just had a trip around the sun again. And Bryce, it seems very apt that you, as a fellow Aquarian, would be here to um, uh, uh, be what I want to say. Not, it's not even a guest, but be part of our
It's
launching.
a debut
Yeah,
of your new.
yeah,
I loved
yeah.
it. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was great. I hope you guys like it. Yeah, we decided to do a little bit of rebranding, so I really love it. I must say, I think it's amazing. I think it's awesome, and I'd love to know what you guys think. So leave us a comment in the comment section. We'd love to know what you think. And today being Monday, hello Morné, hello Bryce.
Hello.
And of course, it's a mystery Monday, mythical Monday, marvelous Monday with our lovely Bryce from Esoteric Atlanta. And we are on part 9045 of the third emerald tablet. Okay, I'm kidding, part 11. Okay. And apparently, we've got like less than 10 verses on this particular tablet, so we're going to see if we're going to get through it today. If not, we will end it off on the third tablet next week, but I'm really looking forward to it. So over to you, beautiful. How are you, and how was your birthday?
Well,
Because you had a
I was
birthday.
laughing. I know Shanti had a wonderful time this weekend. I had a wonderful time last weekend. I think it's appropriate that both Mondays post birthday, we both were like,
I just want to rest. Put my weary bones down. Okay. It was lots of fun, though. It was lots of fun.
I will say though that I don't think it's getting older, because I know people that turn 40 or 50 or 60 celebrate hardcore. I think the more you do yoga and the more you really work on yourself, the less you really need. Like, I just enjoyed hanging out with people and staying up past my bed. I mean, I went to bed at like 11, which was way past my bedtime. But you see how it affects you because you're not used to like exerting that much energy outside of your own work, so
listen, I had a ball, and I'll tell you, I think everybody who I celebrated with would agree. And what happens in Africa stays in Africa.
I think I will say this before we get started. I have students sometimes that will like miss a practice because they're hungover or something, or they went out the night before, and they always feel really guilty and really bad coming back in when they come. And I always say to them, listen, did you have a good time? And they'll say, yeah, okay, well then okay, that's fine then. You enjoyed your life. Like Alan Watts said, right? The whole point of life is to be alive, to enjoy your life, to experience life, to celebrate your birthday, to have a little too much fun sometimes. It's totally worth it, because when your day is done and when you're on your deathbed, I don't think you're going to be remembering the days you were hungover. I think you're going to be remembering all the laughter and all the people that you celebrated with and lived with and had experiences with. And that's what you're going to remember. And so I hope everybody watching celebrates their birthday like it's going out of style. I hope everybody watching takes that time to really, and your friends. If I was in Africa, I would have been right there with you celebrating, because I love my friend's birthday because you get to celebrate their birthday. Like, it's so fun to celebrate your loved ones' birthdays because they're important to you,
Exactly. I have to tell you just a funny little story. Well, I thought it was quite funny anyway. Just before you continued talking about celebrating, another time I celebrate is Christmas. So I was at the health shop and I was like saying, I said, oh damn, I forgot to buy champagne. And I just commented at the checkout. So the lady looks at me and she says, have you tried kombucha? I said, are you mad? I said, are you absolutely mad? I said, this is Christmas. I said, I love kombucha at the best of times. There is no ways I'm faking champagne for kombucha. I said, my body is 56 and a half years old. Me and my body, we love to have fun. So I promise you, whatever champagne goes in for celebration gets worked out very quickly the next day, just because it does.
Yeah,
So,
your body's trying to. I love champagne too, Shanti. I love rum and I love champagne.
no, I'm not a rum girl. Oh my goodness. I don't think I've ever drank that. That stuff tastes so vile. Anyway, okay, we should maybe do a show on rum.
Well, I will say, so my 24th birthday, so 16 years ago, I was living in Los Angeles at the time. My girlfriends took me to, and I can't remember the name of it. You know, Chippendales, where the guys, it's like, they're strippers, but they dance around like the Backstreet Boys, like a boy band.
Of course, we had plenty, yeah.
They surprised me with taking me to one. That was one of the best birthdays of my life. I have never laughed that hard in my life. And that's where I was introduced to rum, was at this event. I have never laughed so hard in my whole entire life, seeing these men greased up, doing their little Backstreet Boy NSYNC boy band dances, like swinging their willies around. Like, I have never laughed that hard. And so I have a really good memory associated with rum. So that's my
Well, that's probably why as well, remembering the Chippendale Boys.
That was my girlfriends in LA. They pulled that off because I had no clue. And after it was done, we were hungry. We were looking for the only restaurant. Do you guys have Hooters in South Africa? Hooters, the restaurant?
Yeah.
So the only restaurant opened on Hollywood Boulevard after the event was over was Hooters. So that's where we went. After Chippendales was Hooters. It was, I mean, that's why I never regret my time in LA, because I always say that was the time of my life where I was able to be young and have fun. And yeah, that's my rum. That's why I love rum, is because, Jackie, if you're listening, girl, I still remember that birthday 16 years ago. That you pulled that shit off really well. So
yeah, birthdays are definitely there to be celebrated for.
Yeah.
Sure. So I want to just welcome all our guests. It's so good to see you guys again. Stacy, Carol, Sharon, Eva, Norway. Nice to see you guys. Lovely. Always on a Monday. Always the highlight of my Monday is to catch up with you guys from sunny South Africa. And as I was saying early on, it is tablet 3. Tablet 3, part 11, verse 39 to 47.
Yes.
How not to be an asshole.
How not to be. Hopefully we can get through it. We'll definitely finish next week. And I want to say too, I know I always, before we get started, I would love to hear in the comment section what everybody watching has thought of, especially tablet 3. I know there's a lot of conversation in the Signal group about it, people finding it very helpful in their journey into shadow work, to really be reminded of these beautiful messages from Thoth about just being a decent human being and remembering to love and respect each other, and remembering not to gossip, and to know that you have the power inside of you. We're gonna end, as we said last week, they're going through the chakra system. And usually we go through the chakra system from Muladhara up. They're going it from the head down, which I think is very interesting, because we know we have to descend before we can ascend. So there's not a focus on the ascension. It's first a focus on the descension. So we're going to start today with Lord Ardal, which this is verse 39 of tablet 3. 9 is the Father, vast he of continents, forming and changing form out of the formless. So Thoth's commentary in modern English. In the beginning was the root chakra. In the beginning was the root chakra. Ardel is the name and frequency of this Lord. All of your connections to all of life spring from this chakra. Yes, your ancient origins still influence you in many ways. Recognizing that this sound frequency of Ardal has the power to change some of the old slave mentality is one key to evolution.
Amazing. That's so true. I love that. I love the way they put that, actually, because it's always that, the root chakra, I always say, because that's the first 8 years of a child's development.
Yeah.
And that's also the time where you are at your most vulnerable, right?
Yeah.
So you're at the mercy of those in control of you or in charge of you. And that would then, as you say, come up. And for me, it's your origins, your roots, your karma, that which you've chosen to bring into this life. And when we understand that, because most of us don't understand that, we think we're products of our environment. But when we understand that we're not really products of our environment, yes and no. But I have to say, it takes a deep level of understanding to get that. You know, it's so subtle. And when you get it, it's so empowering, because that's the thing that enables then the roots, the root chakra, Muladhara, to grow deep and stable and strong like the tree, where you in the correct environment in which you thrive. And the environment has nothing to do with where you live. It's got everything to do with where you've placed yourself spiritually, because life is spiritual, right? We are spiritual. So it's like, spiritually, where do you put yourself? Because physically, that's where you're going to land up. Can't be another way. You are your physical and you are your spirit. So when spiritually we change, that then changes the dynamic of whatever we creating in our lives. Very interesting. It's nice.
One of my favorite quotes is, wherever you go, there you are. And so that's what you're saying, Shanti. Like, so many people, I know girls do it. I've done it before, where we think, oh, if I just have this particular boyfriend, I'll be happy. If I have this job, I'll be happy. If I lived in this city, I'll be happy. In this country, I'll be happy. That's all exterior stuff. So you have to fix this. Wherever you go, there you are. Wherever you go. So if you get the boyfriend that you've always wanted, or the dream job, or live in a cool apartment, a cool city, but you haven't fixed yourself, you're still going to be presented with the same problems and obstacles within your thought patterning until you actually deal with you, until you actually deal with that root chakra. And I think so many people, I've noticed this a lot in this Great Awakening, where people are very new to spirituality. And a lot of times the sixth chakra, the seventh chakra, all the real, like the third eye, like people are so enamored by that. But if you want a good third eye, clean out your root chakra, because it all starts at the roots. It all starts at the roots. You can't ignore it. You have to go down. And for me personally, that's like where I mainly focus my work, is in the lower three, because I know if those suckers are like grounded and powerful, then the other suckers are going to be a lot better off. You know, it's so important that, and I think it's interesting, this past Saturday in our Shadow Work Challenge, self-study Saturday, was that they were studying and journaling about the chakra system. So that came up in our Shadow Work Challenge. Again, we did it in the 30-day too, but it's such an important topic. So
wait, just before you go on there, I just wanted to say, a lot of people give the advice, just be who you are, follow your gut, follow your desires. But if those three first chakras are out of alignment, then you're following, what desires are you following? What gut feelings are you following? You're following your fear. So I can understand why first you have to open up the light from above to see what's going on underneath. Then you have to go underneath and fix it all up so that you can rise again. So that thing about follow your gut is not always the best advice. Not always the best advice, because what gut are you following, you know? So that's very important too.
It's like, I know with addictions, like that is true. You know, I was actually speaking with my friend Cindy, who I know she's on shows before yesterday. I teach at her Shala. And we were speaking about, like, her as a healer, a lot of root chakra issues are money issues. People, and you see very extremes, especially in the spiritual world. There's some people in the spiritual world that think they should live as renunciates, and they have a very weird relationship with money, but money is part of root chakra, and having an understanding of what that is in the matrix we live in. We were talking about that. You know, addictions, we look at all sorts of different addictions that are trying to mask. And that's why too, you think about the lower three chakras. The lower three chakras are so beautifully human. All three of them are so beautifully human, you know, and that if we think about that, that's like the anchor. You know, if we are spiritual beings having a human experience, the three lower chakras are pulling us in an anchor of our human experience. The spiritual life of us will go on in a new body, new problems, right? New body, new issues. Next life, I've already decided I'm doing yin yoga the whole time because I've already busted my ass. But you know, but that's what brings us to our real humanness, is the lower three. And you think about, like, I always think about it, like, if you go to the grocery store, at least here in America, and they have a section where you can buy like helium balloons for a kid's birthday party, and they have like a florist section, at least here in America. And when they're advertising the balloons, they have like this paperweight that are tied to the balloons to keep the balloons there. I always think about the lower 3 chakras as almost being that paperweight that keeps you grounded into yourself as a human. I know that like a 6th chakra imbalance would be being too out there, too air, not being able to ground yourself. That's a vata issue as well with that air. And so the lower 3 chakras, they're not given a whole, I just think they're some of the most beautiful because they really have so many lessons. And once you can get those 3 chakras to really be healthy, you see it's a domino effect, right? It starts to kind of work into the heart on a hata all the way up, right? And you can see clearly more the upper chakras. So of course, all right. So Shishat contributes her wisdom. To use the power of this Lord's frequency to positively influence your root chakra, do this. Place your hand on your root chakra. Ask your own inner guidance what needs to be shifted in your primal roots. Be still and do not stress if you feel nothing. Your root chakra can hold a lot of secrets. Begin to chant the name Ardal. Feel how the sound reverberates within your being. Let this be easy. Each time you call upon any of these frequencies, the power is cumulative. Remember, it took eons for your root chakra to accumulate all the information that it now holds. It took eons. So be patient.
For all your lifetimes, really.
Yeah.
You know, it holds the information because it's your. I've maintained for a long time as your chakra of karma. So it's what you choose to bring in. So it's what you choose to bring in, what you're working with, and that's going to be apparent in the first 8 years of a child's life, very, very often, in terms of their upbringing, in terms of how they are prepared. It's the chakra of preparation. It's that feeling of being excited to be in your body and you're ready to move. You know, it's that feeling. That's the root chakra feeling. And then you kind of move up, which is amazing. So, but yeah, we all get our experiences differently. So each person is going to experience it in their own unique way. But it's good just to have guidelines, you know, to sort of see how it works. And obviously when the lower body, the lower back, money problems, definitely. It's when you're unrooted, because money is really energy. And when you're unrooted, you're going to manifest your fears. And that's not just true to the root chakra, but it's true to all the chakras as you go along. Yeah. So yeah, root chakra certainly is the most important. They're all important, but it's the most important to
the starting point. Yeah. It's well, I love how she says to put your hand on your root chakra. So Muladhara is the root chakra. Well, we have also in that area Mulabandha, which is the root lock that locks in the energy at the base of Sushumna, which is, we've talked about that before, and it's in your perineum, so in your crotch basically. And I always tell my students, like in India, they will come and check, like they will put their hand in between your legs and practice to check to make sure you're contracted. And for some reason, it's just not weird. Like, it's not weird in India. It's just, it is what it is. It would be totally weird if I did that in America. But I can also tell people too, if you look at the human body, so the big toe, when I teach students and I want to make sure their bandha is contracted, I'm not looking at their crotch. What I'm looking at is their big toe. What is their big toe doing? So the big toe, if you press the big toe into the floor, it's going to activate a line of energy up. This is my leg. It's going to come up the inner thigh into the perineum. And so if I'm watching a student in the Ashtanga practice, like Utthita Trikonasana, which is done in the fundamental sequence of Ashtanga, we catch the big toe with our peace fingers, and then the thumb touches the index finger. And then the student's job is to then press into the big toe and then pull against it. So there's a resistance to pull energy up the leg into the bandhas. So the students know in Ashtanga yoga, the lineage of Ashtanga, that the sun salutations in the fundamental sequence, which is done before every series, because we don't, in traditional yoga, we don't choreograph a class. It's already given to us from the Yoga Karanta. So like Yoga Chikitsa, which is primary series, we're looking at same in second series, which is nerve therapy. We have to get the bandhas really activated before we get into the actual series. And so a lot of these practices like Utthita Hasta Padangusthasana, which is the first posture of primary series, you're catching the toe and extending the toe out and then folding chin to the shin. But a lot of people make the mistake is they'll catch the toe and then flex the foot. No, we want at that point, point the toe and pull against it. So that inner chain of energy is totally activated and pulling up into the perineum, which is that root area. So for people watching who this is like totally new for you, it's not like you have to just sit there and grab your crotch. You know, you can start playing with your feet. You can start playing with pressing into the big toe, squeezing a ball in between your legs and seeing how that activates the inner thighs, and pay attention to where the energy is flowing, because you're going to start to notice that subtle body, that the energy is flowing up into that perineum near Muladhara through Mulabandha. And so there's so many different things you can do to start to play with this energetically using the physical body. And I know the arch of the foot, pulling the arch up, is also going to work like the second and third chakra, because that's around Uddiyana Bandha, which then pulls the stomach up and in. So there's so much to do to really play with this for yourself and get to know your subtle body responses to these energies. She goes on to say, though, Shishat, concentrating on clearing one thing at a time is the best. Or simply place your hand on your root chakra, chant the name or sound frequency Ardal, and ask for the highest good for all. Moving forward does not always have to be difficult. All right. This brings us to Tablet 3, verse 40, which is titled Hidden Keys. Hidden Keys. And remember, this tablet is called the Keys of Wisdom. So this is the hidden keys. Meditate on the symbols I give thee. Keys are they, though hidden from men. Thoughts, commentary, and modern English. As you read my original text from the Emerald Tablet 3, relax and take the words into your heart. Yes, there are many keys hidden therein. You would not be attracted to this information if you had not had some type of association with me in previous incarnations. When I read that, that was so powerful. That was so powerful, because I had been feeling a call to read the Emerald Tablets for a very long time. And as I've said before, this takes us back to Atlantis. And I think that's what Thoth is saying in this great awakening. One of the most magical awakenings is that our timeline is complete bullshit. And nothing they've taught us in history is accurate. We have the fall of Atlantis. That was Armageddon. That was it. And then you had Tartaria, which is called the 1,000 Years of Peace in the Bible, which the good news means is now we're at Gog and Magog. So what does that mean? It means it's the end of the road, kids. We are finally there. Are we there yet? We're finally there, where we get to actually, if we're ready, ascend, right? Standing. And so he's saying that. It goes all the way back to that first verse, the first tablet, like where he's like, yo, I'm writing this stuff for Morné and Shanti and BRICE and all of you watching right now, where Thoth literally was like, I'm writing this for you. This is not for any generations that came before us. We were present for those generations too. But as we said on Wednesday for the Sophia Code, as Shanti pointed out, this life you're living now is the most wise you've ever been of all these experiences. And so the incarnation that you were in now, that is the incarnation that Thoth wrote this for. So he's saying that. Let me read that again. That's powerful. As you read my original text from the Emerald Tablet 3, relax and take the words into your heart. Yes, there are many keys hidden therein. You would not be attracted to this information if you had not had some type of association with me in a previous incarnation. I just feel so much love from that. Like, he's like, it's okay. You might not remember me, but I remember you. And I've loved you since then. I will always love you. And that's why I took the time to do this. All right. He goes, if you decide to let this be easy and do not stress that you do not understand it all yet, light will come upon you. There is no hurry. All is well. You choose to be in the exact place that you are in now. So there's no hurry. So my favorite, I know people are going to get upset because I'm going to talk about the Beatles, but it's my favorite Beatles song. One of them is Let It Be. Let It Be. Ooh. That's one of the most powerful songs to me. It's just let it be. When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary speaks to me, saying words of wisdom. Let it be. It's okay. You don't have, and that's the thing too. Like, what's that other saying? When you don't know what to do, do nothing. You don't have to have. He's saying that the waking up process, the ascension process, the healing yourself process, you know, and sometimes there can be a prativa moment, as we say in the sunset or in the sutras, where it's a flash of illumination. But most of the time it isn't. Most of the time it takes time. And there's a great book I have right here called Kundalini, Evolution of Enlightenment. And I think it's oh, my mind's gone blank now. One of the older Indian teachers, I don't think Krishnamurti maybe, who said in this book that we talk about like Kundalini rising. You don't want it to happen all of a sudden. You don't want it to all of a sudden just out of nowhere happen. It will shock your nervous system. It has to be a slow progression. It has to be, it's like, you know, when you have somebody sleepwalk, I've struggled with sleepwalking. You can't wake them up while they're sleepwalking. You have to turn them and bring them back to bed and slowly wake them up, you know? And so it's okay. If you're doing the shadow work challenge and you know there's still things you need to work on, the fact that you're just aware of it and aware of working on it, that's okay. Be easy. Let it just work every single day and let go of the expectation, right? I love that. You chose to be here now. That's powerful. I always say that to my class on Sunday when they come to lead primary. I'm like, I know this is hard, but guess what? You made a conscious decision to be here this morning, and that's a power move. Like the fact that you purposely came into this class this morning to do this hard work is so freaking powerful because you owned that. You came in and said, I'm going to do this. It's going to be hard. And it's going to be tough and it's early Sunday morning, but I'm going to do this. And so you made the power move by deciding to be here now. And that in itself is just so freaking powerful. Shat contributes her wisdom. You may be curious as to actually what these keys are. One set of keys you have already given to you. Seek after that which your heart desires. As you do one thing, much more will be revealed to you. Are you willing to accept that spiritual growth could be as easy as going within and paying attention to what your heart tells you? You already have one set of keys. It's already in you, right? It's like that whole thing again. We're always looking for things outside of us to fulfill us, to make us happy, to make us whole. But it's already in us. We just have to look within. We have to turn our. It's what I love in Ashtanga Yoga. We practice the Tristana method, which is the method of practice, which is breath, drishti, and asana. So drishti is a focal point. There are 9 different. We never close our eyes because closing your eyes, monkey mind coming. We keep our eyes solid. Every posture has its own point, like at the nose, the thumb, looking up, down. And if you look at the way the eye, the optical exam of an eye, is the eye sees something upside down and then flips it back when it brings the image back to you. How apropos is that for bringing everything back into yourself? And I will say, if you play with the drishti method in asana practice, all of a sudden, all the other people in the room go away. And it becomes such a solitary meditative moment where it's just you in that moment where you are facing yourself and at all your residual thoughts, where you don't even notice anybody around you because the eyes are solid and they're bringing that information back to you. It's so beautiful. It's like what they're saying. You bring it back in, you bring it back to you. So we go to the next verse, which is 41, which is titled Using the Frequency Keys. Reach ever upward, O soul of the morning, turn thy thoughts upward to light and to life. Find the keys of the numbers I bring thee, lights on the pathway from life unto life. Thoughts, commentary, modern English. Keep reaching upwards in your quest for deeper understanding. Bring your thoughts always back to positive vibrations. Use the frequencies of the 7 lords that I have given you. Recite all the names daily as you touch each chakra point. You will find much light on this path as it becomes easier and easier for you to understand light and truth. Shat contributes her wisdom. As a woman, I find these exercises to be greatly beneficial for humans of every gender. You all have an energy system, a chakra system, that can benefit the vibrations created by chanting the names of the 7 lords. It is easy to remember as Uttanas starts at the crown chakra and opens you to spiritual wisdom. Hutaris activates the pineal gland. This increases your inner vision and ability to receive and transmit psychic information. Chital activates the throat chakra, encouraging you to speak up and speak out. Powerful Goyana vibrates the heart and opens you to more love, understanding, and courage to follow your heart's desire. Utar coincides with the solar plexus, seat of your will and powerful gut feeling. Simvata stimulates the sexual chakra and all of the good feelings that are generated there. Ardal brings it all together by addressing your primal needs, primal roots, thus stimulating hunger for more than mere survival. Which is interesting because we have the fast coming up. And we talk about that in that fat. We're going to be talking about that in the big hunger, little come. So more than just survival, there's a deep. I love that she used the word hunger there, right? You will find your life much more in harmony with what you want as you cultivate the habit of daily balance. If spiritual growth is your quest, this is a very great key to assist you. In all of your desires for spiritual growth, do not forget the joys of being human. I love that. Don't forget the joys of being, as Alan Watts says, the point of life is to be alive. Just be alive. Like, don't forget that, yeah, you came here to learn lessons. But guess what? When we were kids at school,
I have to say, sorry to interrupt you, but just on that point, because it's exactly just this whole thing about being alive and enjoying life. Because I have truly found the most spiritual people are those that actually don't even have a spiritual denomination or practice. They don't even talk about it. They don't need to. It's like they just live life. Their actions speak for themselves. I mean, and I can attest to this from certain of my family members, and I know more so than that as well. The way they are with their kids, the way they are with their wives and husbands, the way they are with their parents, the way they're there for their community. It's really that, for me, is what it's about. They kind of living the talk rather than talking it, if you know what I'm saying. So I think a lot of people, when we think about spirituality, we think it's about meditating or going to church or whatever. Yes, for sure, that forms part of your spiritual or part of your life. But I think really it's in the action. And that's what I've seen and what I've observed with certain people. It really is. They're just amazing. They have the ability to easily, there's an owl. Oh, that's the message this has brought me. And I'm going, yeah, cool. Glad you saw that too. It's just that kind of thing, So it's that sense of connectedness. It's that sense of oneness. It's that sense of understanding life and our wonderful sense that we are one. And just the mere fact that you feed a homeless person without putting it on Facebook, to me, is a beautiful act. You don't need the recognition. You don't need the whatever. It's just an act of kindness that you can afford. It doesn't mean you're not going guilty, running up, trying to feed everyone when you can't even afford to feed yourself. It's what you can afford and it's what you can give. And it's the energy you put out more than anything. And I think that for me is something I have to say in the years that I have done this work. And very often, I'll have especially women come to me and say, yes, but my husband this and my father that. And he never told me he loved me or whatever. And I'll go, okay, so let's look at that. I said, most men, and especially if we're looking in the older generations, find it very hard to express emotion, right? I find that as they get older, it becomes easier. But, usually in the throes of their life, they're busy doing things, and there's a certain program, let's say, that male masculine energy and feminine energies live according to type thing. So I'll say, well, let's look at your dad's language of love. Let's look at the love language there. Did he provide for you? Absolutely. Did you have food in your belly and clothes on your body, and were you educated? Absolutely. Was he protective over you? Absolutely he was. I'm going, now that right there are three massive male love languages. And as women and as feminine, you see, part of the masculine feminine is really understanding the active and the passive and how they work together and how they integrate together. Because when you're in that integrated phase, It's just something that occurs of itself, if that makes sense. So then you understand, wow, my dad was a man of few words, but man, oh man, every action of his just expressed who he was. Or my mom, or whoever, we can look at these things. Communication doesn't always come verbally. It's our actions. And that will also, of course, be the root chakra, because that's your sense of security. So how secure do you feel in the world? And that kind of, it's the light that you shine that lights the other candles. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it goes back to that, like, right. I just looked at some of the comments that everyone's talking about. We were talking about Chippendales and stuff. That goes back right to it. I know so many are the champagne, so many spiritual people that cut themselves off from enjoying life and enjoying laughing with girlfriends. I mean, how many people in the truther community today, won't listen to a rock and roll song because they think it's demonic, when literally I always ask people, like, I love the Rolling Stones. I don't know what they're doing behind the scenes, but I have really good memories with their music that come back to laughing with my friends at sleepovers. And like, that's my association with that. I'm not going to give that up just because somebody said that they're satanic. Like, you have to own that experience with life. You have to own the experiences of really being human and enjoy it. And yeah, and you're right, Shanti, my stepdad's that way. Like, when you were talking about that, I was thinking about my stepdad, and the law of one talks about that there are people on this earth that are really high density souls, and they decided to come back and just live a very easy life because and that's my step. I mean, obviously everybody has struggles, but he's just very easy breezy, a lemon squeezy, like totally just relaxed. He's very funny. He has his own little bar at my parents' house, and you come over and he wants to make you a drink, and he's just very solid and just very grounded. And we were talking about, after we read that in the Law of One, we were talking about my stepdad, like, oh my God, he's one of these guys. He's not offended easily. He's not offended by he's Episcopalian. We call them Wiscopalians, but he loves other faiths and other people, and it's just one of those, he just really grounded himself into life. And yeah, it's true. It's absolutely true. What Shanti is saying.
Yeah. And I think, so many of us, and I wanted to just say the reason I brought that up is because that's been pretty apparent in sort of conversations I have where people say, well, I'm doing this, and I realize he's a young soul and this, and come on. By saying that, by deciding whether someone is a young or an old soul, immediately is putting judgment out of your mouth, because you have no idea the age of anyone's soul. So, it's really about, and they're not meditating or going to retreats or
maybe they did that 5 other lives before. So
that's my point. So it's like, you shall know them by their fruit. Mm-hmm. Let's always remember that, because really I believe true spirituality or true Christianity is really understanding that, is ye shall know them by their fruit. So those people whose presence you feel fantastic in, and not on a whim because you're going on a party or whatever. It's someone who's consistent in their energy. It's someone who's consistent in who they are. It doesn't mean they don't have a bad mood now and again or whatever. We're human, right? But I'm talking about that where, it's exactly that. It's like, I can attest to my dad as well, just being this rock of Gibraltar in the community for everyone. And, it was amazing to have that and to be the result of that, to be the offspring of that. And I see now how important that has been in my life, and especially where I'm at in my life, that strong male energy in my life, my father, the trusted one. So, that's what I want to say to parents as well, anyone. We need to stop fighting about who's more spiritual and what church we go to and how many Bible verses we read and how much home study we do when it comes to that. It really is about how we live. And that's why I say, with my dad, I knew I could trust him with anything. Yeah. Anything. both my parents. But as a girl, I talk about my dad a lot because as a woman, it's so important to have that strong relationship. And I want to encourage males, you know, to have that with their daughters and their sons, you know, where you just are that place for them to come home to, and they can just be, and they can know no matter what trouble they get into, you are there and you will embrace them with loving arms. It doesn't mean you're going to be okay with what they do, but you're not hauling them over to church council meetings and talking to 16 pastors to decide the fate of your child.
Yeah.
You know, that is coming from your heart. God has given you this child. It is up to you and God and this little being to figure out how you're going to move forward. That's spirituality. That's what I'm talking about. That's the true essence of what I believe a spiritual being is.
Well, the law of one also says that you have no business deciding the age of somebody else's soul, or no business determining whether somebody else is going to ascend or not. It's none of your business. Because she said that earlier in tablet 3, that you don't know somebody else's spiritual journey and the agreements that they have made. It's none of your business. And I love that, because some of what people we can perceive to be young souls might not be that young. They might not be that young. They might have just reached a level of understanding that makes them happier. It makes them more content in their existence. And so, it's definitely, what do they say? Therapists often say this, like, pay attention to your own backyard. Always just pay attention to your own backyard. Don't worry about what somebody else is doing, you know? So
indeed, I would agree. So, look at what's happening inside. Yeah, get all those creepy cupboards.
Pull your own weeds first before you look at your neighbors. So.
And then you help each other pull your weeds. There's nothing wrong with helping each other doing a bit of weeding, right? A bit of gardening. Yes. And you can have fun doing it as well when you recognize we all got weeds.
Yep, we all got weeds. Oh my God, I have to tell, I saw a video on a short on YouTube. I was cracking up. Some little girl was at preschool and she told the class that her family just has so much weed. So much weed. And the teacher called the parents very concerned about this. And the dad videotaped the little girl when she got home, and he was like, honey, I heard you told the school, your whole class, that we have a lot of weed. And she goes, yeah, yeah. He goes, what are you speaking about? And she goes, I'll show you. And she ran outside to the yard to show them the weeds. I laughed. I'm not even doing the video justice. It was so funny.
Yeah, absolutely.
She's proudly telling all of her classmates in preschool about all the weed her parents have.
We wanted weeds, exactly. You see,
they probably have that weed too, but she was talking about the weeds outside, and he had to film it to show the teacher, like, please don't call DFACS like this. She's talking about. We complain about gardening.
Oh, shame. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So if we go to verse 42, which is the flower of light is life. Seek ye the wisdom, turn thy thoughts inward, close not thy mind to the flower of light. Thoughts commentary in modern English. Take your time and use your inner wisdom. Look within for the guidance that you already have within you. Keep your heart and mind open to the flower of light. And there's actually, if you order this commentary that I'm using, they have like a free meditation you can download here. I'll go ahead and say that again. This is the book I'm using. Rebecca Marina Messenger. This is just the third tablet, Secret Keys to the Emerald Tablets. And again, she has little journal entries you can do as well. She shall contribute to wisdom. We've often spoken of the power within your own heart. The flower of light refers to the divine flame that is in every being. Some refer to the flame as the flame of the Holy Spirit. Without this flame, by whatever name you desire to call it, there is no life. So they're even saying it doesn't matter what you call it. You can call it the spark of life, the Holy Spirit, whatever you wish, Kundalini. It's all the same. Doesn't matter what you call it. It's all the same thing. The flame animates all life from plant to animal to human. When you see a dead body of any species, you can tell right away that there is no animating spirit within. Be wise, be still, and listen. Then when it is time for inspired action, you will know what to do. So trust that spark of life inside of you. And she's right. A dead body looks nothing like the body. I mean, a lot of people say that. I know my grandparents, when all 4 of my grandparents passed away, they wanted a closed coffin because they didn't want people to see them without their soul, because they don't look the way the same. You know, the body doesn't look the way it looked when the person was alive. The sparkle behind the eye isn't there. The way the skin moves as a smile isn't there. It's just the body, you know, once the spirit leaves. So
I want to just say something you said there, which I want to just highlight there, is the inspired action, because that really, I want to just highlight, is so key to this, because you know how often in the past, I don't know, the 90s, early 2000s, I don't know, I'm probably older than most here. You know, we would go to motivational conferences, you know, and you sit for 2 or 3 days and you get the rah, 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 and the books and the this and the that, you know, and people come away from that feeling fantastic. But, you know, getting that kind of kick up the bum, you know, it's a beautiful and, you know, invigorating thing. But that would often last for just a short space in time, maybe a few days, maybe a month, who knows, you know. But rather than, because again, that's something coming outside of yourself, so it's kind of giving you a kick in the bum, right? But when you actually sit, and yes, that could be a catalyst for giving you your inspiration. I'm not saying it can't, okay? But that inspired action, which is where you sitting in meditation, because you see, meditation is listening to the word of God, or listening for. Prayer is dialogue, meditation is listening. And in those moments, that's when you get that feeling, oh, yes, I've got to do that. And there's that moment of eureka. That's the truth. That's your inspired action. So you would then act on that. So a lot of people think meditation, you just sit and go, whatever. You don't. Meditation allows you to receive the voice of God, to hear the voice of God, to be inspired. And that's the inspired action. And when you get that inspired action, you can never be wrong. You don't need anyone else's advice. You don't need anyone else's whatever. It kind of unfolds. And then the right people come along, or you make the right phone call, or you speak to that one again, or you know who to contact, and suddenly doors and things start opening. And that's when that momentum from that inspired, God-inspired, I want to say, energy comes. And that's what it is. So that inspired action, just what you were saying there, through my experience, is absolutely key. And you get that through meditation and introspection and sitting quietly with yourself. You're not going to get it 5 times a day, every day, I promise you. You might get it once a month to begin with. It might be a soft little thing that you think about. It might be something that you have to hear 2 or 3 times and you go, gosh, I should have listened to begin with. But you learn to know that voice. And the more you sit with yourself, and the more you write, and the more you believe in yourself, and the more you trust yourself to know that you're amazing for whatever reason, the more it comes to you.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. Well, you just get grounded. You get grounded by doing these things into your own knowing. And that's what they're saying, is you have all the answers. I mean, it mirrors what Yahshua said. Yahshua said, heaven and hell is inside of you. It's all inside of you. It's all, the keys are there. And the more you can listen, hone in and listen, the more. And that's what makes me so sad. As you were talking about that, Shanti, I was like thinking about my time in the Presbyterian church. We weren't taught to meditate. We were never taught to listen. We were only taught to pray. We were never taught to listen. And sometimes you need to listen. That's why I love Ganesh of the Hindu pantheon. The Ganesh is the big ears and the tiny mouth.
The elephant.
Yeah. Tiny mouth. Listen more, speak less. And Ganesh is great because he removes obstacles, but he also brings them too. He brings them as well if you need them. But he listens, you know?
Absolutely.
How to manifest your heart's desire, verse 43. Place in thy body a thought-formed picture. Think of the numbers that lead thee to life. Thoughts, commentary in modern English. Picture in your mind what it is that you desire. Focus also on how each energy center or chakra has a part in delivering that to you. The numbers coincide with the lords of frequency. Everything is frequency. All can be reached in your quest for more life. Shishat contributes her wisdom. Your body has its own wisdom. It knows what is best for it, and it knows what is best to avoid. That is so freaking powerful. That was something that was so powerful for me when I first started the yoga journey. Because when we were growing up as kids, we had the food pyramid, and an apple was a healthy food. But every time I ate an apple, I got sick. When I was in the 2nd grade, 8 years old, I ended up at Eggleston Children's Hospital because I'd wake up every night projectile vomiting. And it's because my mother was feeding us apples and peanut butter for a snack, raw apples and peanut butter. I'm highly vata. Your body knows with everything, with food, with exercise, with energy, with what to do. Think about that. Think about kids. Like, how many times does a child cry because they don't want to sit on some strange guy's lap? They don't know this guy, but their body, their intuition knows something is wrong. But then some other guy, they'll go sit on their lap, no problem. You know, our body knows. How many times have you been around someone where you felt really uncomfortable, like something was off, but you second guessed yourself? No, your body knows. Your body knows.
Absolutely.
And so that's what everything from food to exercise to other people to jobs. How many people have worked themselves to death in a job that they've never felt comfortable in because their body's going, this is not okay. You know, listen to what your body, and that's what I love about like yoga, because it gets you really into understanding your subtle body. And our subtle body, kids know their subtle bodies. Kids know exactly. How many kids know when, I mean, Morné and Chantelle work with kids. How many kids know when one of their friends is upset? They just know. And they run to their little friend in the classroom to hug them. How many kids know when they don't want to sit on Santa Claus's lap? How many kids know when they don't want to eat a certain food? Or they don't like this grandma, but they like that grandma? Like how kids, there's no logic. They just know. And then we're programmed to ignore that logic. Your body knows.
It's also important, you know, if we get older as well, to realize that if we are in a job situation or in a relationship that is horrifically toxic and we're getting ill and we're getting health issues and stuff like that, we have to realize that's our body speaking to us as well. Because every part of the body means something. Every organ in the body vibrates to its own frequency and is related to its own chakra. So the chakras are going to be a key to tell you what emotions or what energies are out of balance and what you have to look for, what you have to change in your life. Because every illness or dis-ease in the body is coming from an ignoring of what you're asking yourself for in truth, or being in a situation that you are literally allergic to and it's making you sick. So we have to look at these things. We cannot deny, and I'm not saying every person's sick, please, guys. I'm not saying every person sick is in a toxic relationship or in a bad work situation. No. I'm saying it's a very real and very strong possibility, and it happens a lot. And people don't look at that. And then you've got to go down the little rabbit hole of asking yourself, why do you do that? Not why? Why me? Why me? No. Why have I put myself in a situation that is clearly not gelling with who I am? And I keep doing it every single day for the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Why am I doing that to myself? What do I believe I don't have available to me? Most of us, you see, that's why most of us, do you know that a couple of years ago, they did research in the Western world on mental health. 80% of the Western world was on some form of antidepressant. That's scary, because that's saying that a lot of people can't cope with life, basically. And what, you know, so that is telling me so many people are doing things which they're not passionate about or which they're not in love with. Because that's a big thing. When you are doing something that your heart is loving and that your spirit is desiring for you and that your body is responding to, you can't often be depressed.
Yeah. And
Let's just put it
sometimes I
that way.
think, and I know going looking back on my life, I think that's such an important thing to talk about, Shanti, because I know sometimes people watching right now, maybe there's some epiphanies happening that you've been conditioned to believe you have to work this job that's literally killing you to make the money you're making. I look at, as you were saying that, I was like almost got emotional because I was thinking about when I first, so I used to be director of yoga for Wellness Centers of America, and I had a lot of clients who at that point had kids who were in high school. And the amount of stress that was put under these teenagers, these babies, in order to be able to get into a good college, a good university, they had to do all these different and you would look at these like 14-year-olds and they would have bags under their eyes. Their bodies were breaking because of the demands that were being put on them. And I think about like that. I remember thinking like, God, I'm glad that wasn't my generation, because these kids aren't even getting a chance to be a child. And so if you step back for a minute and think about the trajectory of where the matrix, where the controllers have taken us, they've completely ripped us from the joys of our own existence, and really ripped us from knowing ourselves in order to, and put us in a survival. I did a couple of shows with Sean Stone a while ago, and he talked about that. Like, they've created a dog eat dog environment where we have to be surviving instead of thriving. And thriving doesn't mean necessarily being the multimillionaire. Thriving means that you are freaking happy, and that you are at peace with your life.
Yeah. The thing is that your spirit is rich, and you know that you can create and provide for yourself. You don't need 20 million in the bank and working yourself to a standstill. It means that you are satisfied with enough. And you know that when enough is not enough anymore, you have the ability to create more enough. And that's the point I'm making. It's like an ongoing process of creation. It's like a fresh bakery every day, baking fresh bread. You're not stockpiling 20 years worth of bread and hoping it's going to be fresh and delicious at the end of 20 years. It's like, you know that every day you got the ingredients, every day you're there, every day you're capable to create for yourself. And you have the ability to assist where you need, and doesn't mean you don't have money. You see, spirituality has got nothing to do with poverty. It's the mind that's poverty. We've been also taught that to be a good spiritual worker, you shouldn't have money. Do you know how many people ask me how much money I make? I'm going, how much money do you make?
Yeah.
What do you do? No, I do this. Oh, right. So you're in pharmacy. You're creating chemicals for people to pretend that they're getting better, in my opinion. How much money do you make from that? So it's like, the minute that you earn a living from doing spiritual work, there's a great stigma attached that you should not be wealthy or whatever. Now, I'm saying there's a big difference between having a healthy flow of income and worshiping money and selling yourself for money. All of us, if you listen to any of Carolyn Mace's work, we all have four main archetypes coming into this world. One of them is the prostitute archetype. And that doesn't mean you go and stand on the street corners. It means at some point in time, we've all sold our souls for something. Everyone who goes to work every day hating it and doing it anyway for the paycheck at the end of the month, you're selling your soul. Know that. So it might be an uncomfortable realization to get to, because maybe you're going to realize, if you're honest with yourself, that's where the issue begins. So just by going to sit with yourself and sit with that unpleasant task of facing one of your greatest fears of, why am I in this place and why am I doing this to myself? When you really think there's no other option out there, you're forcing yourself to face this, right? Most of us don't want to do that because we don't believe there are other options. Well, I'm here to tell you there are. So the minute you actually look at those scary parts and are prepared to say, okay, God, I'm willing to make the change. I don't know what, but I'm willing to look at it. Ka-ching, something happens. Energy shifts. You're inviting something new for creation into your life. So this is how we do it. This is how we save ourselves. I always get into trouble from the traditional Christians who tell me, when I say, Jesus is not here to save you, you're here to save yourself. And Jesus came to show you how to save yourself. That's really what I mean.
Oh, absolutely.
Because
That's what that sword savior means. The sword savior means that he didn't have to reincarnate again. Doesn't mean
Exactly.
you. Actually, Vincent, what's the guy, Fusca on Kennedy? One of the Twitter guys actually just posted that. Somebody asked, like, if you could go have dinner with anybody dead or alive, who would it be? And he said Yahshua, because I would want to ask him, how do you feel about people turning you into a god? So it's coming out that he was a teacher, and that's so beautiful. I was telling someone the true story is so beautiful, and yeah, he was here to teach you how to do it yourself.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
can, because you are also a child of God. You're not a robot. You're not an empty vessel. Speaking of, like, you're talking about work, how many people are still involved in religions that they're uncomfortable with and they're afraid to leave because they don't want to get excommunicated, or they're terrified to leave, but they're not happy there. What happens if you just leave? Same thing with relationships. How many women especially are stuck in relationships that are either dead or abusive because they feel like that's their sole income is that man, and they're afraid that if they leave, I know so many women who've left, and it's all worked out. Everything in the universe is always conspiring to help you. And if your heart and soul are happy, everything else will fall into place. My parents were very concerned when I decided I wanted to be a yoga teacher. They were very concerned, but everything's been totally, God has always, universe, everything I myself have always provided. There's all bills have always been paid. Everything, food has always been on the table. Oh, did we lose Shanti? That being said, I know we're at an hour now, so should we start with do 44 through 47 next week, since Shanti is now
Well, it seems like it's that case.
Is that a god week?
Okay, well, number 12, part 12, it's a good number. 12 is
that's the zodiac. This is 12 months of the year. Let's do it. I want to know, you guys also watching, if you have any questions about the Emerald Tablet you want us to try to answer, versus only tablets 1 through 3, because I haven't even looked at tablet 4 yet. Who knows what that's gonna, what kind of Pandora's box that one's gonna open. So
yeah. Okay. How many chapters are there, by the way?
It was like 10. I'll have to go back and look. So
okay, cool.
So
we're right in the beginning.
Yeah, we're still right at the beginning. We're still at the beginning.
Wow. Well, looking forward to everything. Well, you said that the third tablet is like half the book.
I mean, the third tablet is like a Mac. I take that back. I have looked at the fourth tablet to see how long it is. I haven't looked at the material, and it's very short. So yes, the third tablet is like the Mac Daddy of all the books of the Emerald Tablets. So hopefully there won't, but I trust that Thoth and God and Spirit and Universe and all of the beings that are here for our highest good are going to lead us down the road we need to go down here. Because this was written for, guys, you can walk around today realizing you are a badass because Thoth wrote this for you. He wrote this for you with you in mind. And so know that today as you go about your day, that's how special you are and how powerful you are. So
yeah, that's for sure. We are created out of God's image, so
there's a lot we can do.
That's a lot that we're already doing. I mean, even with our ignorance, with our anger and our resentments and our jealousy, we're creating so much chaos in our lives. So we can do exactly the opposite as well. We have the power. We're using the power. It's not about taking back your power. It's just about rethinking how you're using your power.
Yeah, that's a good point. I like that, Morné. That's a really good point. Rethinking how you're using it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, on that note, I'm going to say, are we going to give load shedding, Shanti's WhatsApp? So, on that note, we're going to say, well, thank you, BRICE. Thank you for bringing your beautiful self and sharing all your knowledge and research and just your authentic self. And thank you for all our viewers for always being here, for your support, for traveling with us and journeying through with us. And sharing inconvenient truths, like our new slogan is saying. we've been shining light on the evolving times the last 2 years, but now we're going to continue on this path of sharing inconvenient truths, because apparently that is something we need to do right now. I think with all of us, it's not always easy to go into those places that's inconvenient. I really don't like my brother. I need to really forgive my sister or whatever. So going into that inconvenience, I think it's where we need to go. And, as soon as it's like riding an old bicycle, the sooner you get on that bicycle, the sooner it becomes comfortable.
Comes right about. I do. Before we sign off, is it Asling Danielle? You asked, where do you get a copy? I think of the Emerald tablets. Just real quick, from the third tablet, I'm reading from Rebecca Marina Messenger's book. She actually has independent copies of all the tablets. This is the third tablet. But when we go back to the fourth tablet and the second and the first tablet, we are using Doriel's. And if you are in a country that has Amazon, you can get these on Amazon very easily, or just type it in. Just type in the Emerald tablets. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll find it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, everybody. Please, if you haven't yet, give us a like and a share and a subscribe. Find us on BitChute, Telegram, Instagram, Facebook, Rumble, everywhere. We try to back up everywhere, so in case we get deleted again, so then we still have backups everywhere. So, yeah, thank you, BRICE. Lots of love to everybody. Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Ciao.